All right. So, hello everyone. Very good evening. We wish you happy vacations, and we're grateful and glad that we're all here together, celebrating the new year um, through this humble initiative and through this ongoing pursuit of learning. So, we welcome you to the free online community classes on law initiative. This is your initiative by you, for you, and with you. It's only possible through the generous and valuable donations of time and contribution by our seniors, our respected and beloved seniors. And today we have the occasion of learning with Shri Arijit Prasad ji. He is a senior advocate. He is a senior executive member, Supreme Court Bar Association. Before I hand over the class to sir, a little bit about sir. Sir is one of the youngest lawyers to be designated as a senior advocate by the Supreme Court of India. He did his elementary schooling from Delhi Public School, Mathura Road, and BCom honors from Delhi University. He went on to study at Campus Law Center, University of Delhi, and completed his LLM in corporate law, commercial, and tax laws from the London School of Economics and Political Science, LSE, in 2003. He has practiced substantially in the Supreme Court and has considerable experience in central government and tax matters. Sir, it's a humble privilege to have this occasion of hosting you today. And so we request you to kindly take us through this very unique topic and introduction to tax laws.
Thank you, Keshav and team Vestralex. Thank you very much for inviting me for this particular class. It's my privilege and honor to be here. I am also a student of tax and law. I don't consider myself to be somebody who's well versed to give a talk on tax laws. I am also learning every day in court, but it is at the instance of Keshav and his persuasion. Uh, I thought let me kind of take you guys through what tax laws entail. It tells me that there are a lot of youngsters who want to be and practice in the field of tax, but they are kind of afraid. Uh, Many people think that there is a lot of number crunching, and I've not taken up maths. I'm a lawyer. How do I do tax law? Well, tax laws has nothing to do with number crunching. First and foremost, tax laws, so far as courts are concerned, it's mostly and substantially and totally only dealing with interpretation of laws. Number crunching is in the hands of chartered accountants. Therefore, tax lawyers don't have to do any number crunching, first and foremost. So far as tax laws are concerned, tax laws include various kinds of laws. Substantially, they have the income tax, you have customs, you have excise, you have GST, you have VAT, so forth and so on. Substantially, tax laws are divided into direct tax and indirect tax. Direct tax is what you have: income tax, wealth tax. You have indirect tax, which is central excise, GST, service tax, and VAT. Now, the indirect tax, which was your VAT, your GST, your service tax, they have all been now kind of subsumed into GST. Earlier, excise law is something what you pay tax on manufacturing of goods. And you pay tax, and you pay tax at the time of removal of goods or removal from the factory or the removal from the depot. VAT is something which is kind of a sales tax. You pay tax when goods are sold in the market. And thereafter you have service tax. Service tax again is a central legislation whereby you pay tax on the services they render to the third place. Now, so far as central excise is concerned, so far as sales tax is concerned, service tax is concerned, is all subsumed into GST law. Now, GST law is a destination-based law. Everyone knows about it, that has been written, and something which is a legislation which has recently, in comparison to the other laws, have been legislated. And so far as income tax is concerned, income tax is a direct tax. Direct tax is you pay tax on the money that you earn. Income tax is part of everybody's life. Earn money, you pay tax. You sell a property, you have capital gains, you pay tax. You have a property, you rent it out, you get rent, you pay tax. You have money in your bank account, you get an interest, you pay tax. So taxation is again a very important part of everybody's life. The government takes taxes, the government utilizes the taxes for its expenditure. It creates infrastructure for you. Suppose you want to go from Delhi to Bombay, airports are being constructed, ports are being constructed, roads are being constructed, sanitation facilities are constructed. The government, whatever money the government spends, comes from the taxes that you pay. So therefore, you must pay your taxes truthfully. More the taxes you pay truthfully, you are building your nation. So I mean, we can go towards Atmanirbhar Bharat only when people pay taxes. It's ultimately from the taxes, the government gets money and spends it on the infrastructure. Now again, there are concepts in tax: evasion versus avoidance. Tax planning comes within your avoidance of that. Anything which you do within the parameters of law, so far as to reduce your tax liability, that's permissible, that's allowed. But anything that you do by contravening the laws of the nation, that's called evasion, and evasion is punishable. You're supposed to deduct TDS in whatever amount that you pay. Suppose you are paying, somebody's come to greet you, you are paying a professional fee, you reduce the TDS payable. Some contractor is coming to do some work for you, you make a payment, TDS is deductible. Finally, the amount of tax which is payable by you adjusted with the TDS that they have paid. That's how the income tax and TDS works out. Even if you are a tax lawyer, even if you're practicing in the field, ultimately your computation, your taxable income would be done by chartered. I mean, you know how ultimately your amounts of tax that you're going to pay deducted by the computed by the chartered accountant, but there may be issues and on interpretation. Those interpretative issues are decided by the tax lawyers. They represent the client before the AO. The AO agrees to your interpretation, good. Thereafter, you can file an appeal to the CIT appeals. Thereafter, you have the ITAT, the High Court, and then the Supreme Court. ITAT is the last fact-finding authority. So your facts, so far as your case is concerned, gets crystallized in ITAT. Again, if you want to file an appeal in the High Court, it can be filed only under 268. That is, if you have a substantial question of. And again, when the High Court, you file an appeal in Supreme Court, again 136 is where you file your appeal. Then again, it's going to become the substantive question. So far as central excise is concerned, you have an order in original, that's the adjudicating authority. You have an order in appeal, you have the appeals, and thereafter you have the CSTAT, and directly you come to Supreme Court and file an appeal. It's a question on the issue of levy or classification. Otherwise, you go to the High Court. That's how the indirect tax. So far as customs is concerned, customs is also part of indirect tax. The same kind of hierarchy is present in that. As far as the customs are concerned, you pay your duties when the vehicle or a ship or a plane enters your borders. You can delay or defer the payment if the goods are kept in a bonded warehouse. So then your bonded warehouse, that's a port or the airport, wherever you have that facility, is part of the customs barrier. Then you have the DRI, which is part of an arm of the customs department, which investigates what have you brought, how have you brought, have you paid the right price, or have you in any manner reduced the price that you are paying. Another area of practice under income tax is transfer pricing and international taxation. Transfer pricing is a new area. There are a lot of people who practice only in transfer pricing. Transfer pricing is also combined with DTAAs, or double taxation avoidance agreements. What happens is if a company operating in the US or any other place has a subsidiary company in India, when they're importing any goods into India, there is transfer from one company to another. Price at which that particular commodity is being sold with associated company, one has to examine reference to how third parties are transferring those goods, comparable goods, so far as in an uncontrolled manner. So that is compared and decided whether what you are costing or whatever is the cost that you're paying, is it commensurating to that particular level of payment, or is it higher or lower? Because if you increase your cost, you reduce your profit. And if you reduce your profit, you reduce the amount of tax that you pay. And DTAAs are basically double taxation avoidance agreements, which are executed between countries. They have various articles, and they decide as to main aim of DTAAs is there is no double taxation. Another important principle so far as tax is concerned is form versus your substance of an agreement, document. So what the revenue authorities look at, what is the substance? Same way that you have in corporate law, you lift the veil to see what is the substance of an transaction. Similarly, in taxation law also you have a form versus substance. So documentation can say something very different from exactly what you want is the transaction. There is always a form versus taxation. The question with the court. I was part of the Vodafone matter. Everybody might have heard about it. This is one of the landmark cases in India. This matter went in Supreme Court for 2 days. I was far more younger lawyer. I had the privilege of assisting Mr. Nariman, Winton Nariman, who was the solicitor during that time. We worked extremely hard. Uh, very good experience of working. Go to his office early morning at 9 o'clock. Briefing used to be 1 o'clock, 1 to 3 lunch, again 2 to 6 on weekdays. Prepared for many days prior before the matter started, and the matter went up for days thereafter. So here again, the issue was underlying asset. Everybody knows the telecom company was the Indian company. Indian company had the underlying assets in India. The transfer and the value of the transaction was because of the Indian assets. And telecom company had taken the permissions from the government for the transfer. Now, what happened was a particular share got transferred in the Cayman Islands. So the Indian government said when you have substantial assets in India and the assets are being transferred, capital gains arises and you need to deduct TDS. This company hadn't deducted TDS. Company said there is no need to deduct TDS because this transaction is not taxable. Therefore, the whole matter was whether this particular transaction was taxable in India or not. The company said that a particular share was being transferred in the Cayman Island. Therefore, when the share in the Cayman Island gets transferred, according to the securities law, a share is deemed to be in the state where it's registered. Therefore, capital gains, what it arises, would be in the Cayman Island for the transfer of the one value, one share. Indian government said the underlying assets are in India, therefore going to be taxable in India. Supreme Court heard the matter. There was a lot of arguments saying the substance of the transaction was the underlying assets, and therefore the valuation was because of the underlying assets. Therefore, capital gains tax then is taxable. So far as the company was concerned, they relied on various securities law. When you have transaction in a jurisdiction where the shares are registered, not taxable. Finally, the Supreme Court passed a judgment in favor of the company. But there again, the Supreme Court passed the order in favor of the company because of the existing structure already there. Supreme Court was of opinion that the structure was not created for avoidance, evasion of tax. So Taxation have to also have knowledge on companies law, securities law, partnership, and various other laws. And even if you practice in tax laws, you get to also do other laws. You have to be proficient in other laws, constitution. Very recently, I argued a matter where a state act was being challenged, the constitution virus state act was being challenged. So it was more of a constitutional validity was being challenged. As a tax lawyer, what we argued was the taxability of the particular taxable event, whether it falls under list one or list two, uh, second schedule. I mean, I hope everybody knows that it's the list two government has the power of taxation, and the central government generally have the power of taxation in list one, and the concurrent list both. Uh, Therefore, you have to have constitution knowledge also. Now, everybody knows, suppose there is a family settlement, the properties of a particular family gets divided amongst the various parties. And because of the fact that everybody has a share in the property, so it's basically apportionment of shares. Such a transfer will not lead to a transfer in the Income Tax Act, and therefore no capital gains tax is payable. So therefore, even if you are practicing tax laws, you also need to have knowledge about Hindu law. Similarly, partnership laws also various transactions, tax laws come into play. So tax laws is not a law which is separate from phone. It's not. It is just not a separate law where you practice only tax law. Therefore, even if you are practicing tax law, you are dealing with all kinds of laws in everyday scenario. And tax laws is not only confined to people who are good at number crunching. So it can also be done by people who have had no connection with maths for a long time. Because a lot of people tax are chartered accountants, so people have it's easier for them, no doubt. If you have a commercial bent of mind and you are willing to do that extra hard work, because tax judgments are very dry, people don't get any stories out there. So people don't like reading the judgments. And again, the tax laws are basically interpretative. So if you are developed a habit of interpreting the laws, by doing tax laws, all other laws come easy. So there are a lot of judgments on tax laws which I can start talking about. I thought introductory is a this is a introductory class to tax laws. So this is I think is good enough introduction for one day for people to absorb. Now I call upon team Vestralex ask me questions so that we can have a more meaningful uh, class. Because if I start talking, I will keep on talking about various judgments, and I will talk about various that crop up, which my audience and friends who may finding boring and may finding a little alien to what they are doing on a daily basis. So yes, Keshav, the
So
floor is now with you.
first of all, sir, like I would say a very, how do I say, I was not expecting, such a precise introduction to the field of tax. I think you've covered all tax codes also. What are the appellate stages? How do you reach the Supreme Court as well? And I think you've also addressed the major, elephant in the room, that whether if a person needs to be an expert in number crunching to be able to even look towards tax laws. So also, so a very interesting thing that you've mentioned is
Yes,
that these judgments regarding tax, that people find them dry, and
yes,
maybe that's the reason why they don't want to interact much with them. But so still, again, so I have a lot of questions with respect to how to possibly make a mark for themselves, or forget the marks. I think, after getting into advocacy, being first generation advocates, what I've been able to understand is that just being able to stand is in itself sufficient. Making a mark, if it happens, happens. We'll see later on. So, at the very initial level, if there is any particular judgment, who is a person who's studying tax right now, then what would be such a judgment that you would want to suggest? Any one or two judgments, not going much into it, but one or two judgments which I think may help people grasp
Well,
what.
I would suggest the Vodafone judgment. It's a landmark judgment. That's a very good judgment where a lot of principles are narrated. Then you have the judgment. I mean, one can just pick up the old judgments. Judgments have a lot of principles enunciated therein, and old judgments are always pleasure to read. If you pick up Vodafone, if you pick up old judgments, uh, the Kale's judgment, which is in Hindu family law. I mean, you could pick up any judgment. I mean, you could just pick up any judgment and start reading. Once you get interested, you can make a reference to the judgment which have been referred to in Vodafone. Then you can refer to the Kale's judgment. You can refer to the judgments therein. You can read McDonald's, which is again a very very old judgment, referred to very often in avoidance and evasion.
So while researching
So
about you,
yes.
so I came across some place where it was written that you have more than 200 judgments in your name. Yes, I think most specifically in tax law at the Supreme
So
Court.
So you see, I've been privileged and I got a chance by God's grace to be at the right time at the right place. So it so happened that I started doing tax, and once I started doing tax, and I did a lot of matters for the government. So when you do matters for the government, a lot of matters, and that's how you keep on appearing before the court and before the. So it's been almost like 2004 now 2023 years I've been doing tax. And I've been doing tax, direct and indirect tax. So I've been doing income tax, I've been doing transfer pricing, I've been doing international tax base, I've been doing excise, customs, I've been also doing service tax, and now GST. So when you keep on doing, I mean, as a lawyer, you need to be only sincere with your work and keep on working hard. So reported judgments are very incidental, so they fall into place. Keep on working.
All right, so I think we'll just let it for people to see for themselves how it how
Another judgment that comes to my mind is Azadi Bachao. Is kind of landmark. So that's another judgment.
I'm sure so that everyone who's referring to the who's in the session right now and who will be joining later on will absolutely find these relevant. So now, so again, I'll just initially I think probably I'll take questions which are there in the chat box itself. So Mr. Deepak Kumar had a question. Deepak ji, you want to ask your question?
Sir, how a person can exempt herself from gift tax?
Gift tax has been now kind of abolished in India. Not gift tax, wealth tax has been abolished. So far as the gift tax is concerned, it is if money your father is sending you something or your brother is giving you anything, then when anything is being given to a blood relative, you need not pay tax. Otherwise, so far as the person who's giving that gift, he will have to pay whatever is required to be paid.
All right, but so I understand that many questions may come wherein people will want to get advice to evade, or
Uh,
how very I
is
think.
Deepak getting some gift from somebody?
That's why asking, sir.
So if it comes from a blood relative, you don't have to pay any gift tax. Otherwise, if anything is coming from somewhere else, the assistant officer is going to see whether there is a round tripping, that is, your money you are sending to somebody else, depositing the money, or he's going to see the capacity and capability of the person to give you that particular gift. Suppose your uncle in the US is sending you money, yeah, they are going to see whether he has the capacity and capability to make it. Somebody is giving you a gift in India, one has to see his again income tax returns will be same. See the capacity and capability to get it. If something is coming from your blood relatives, then that's something you don't worry about.
So दीपक जी, अब अगर कोई बड़ा ही आ जाए, फरारी दे दे आपको, तो फिर you know who to call,
Yes, sir.
right? So Madhusudan Vyas ji has a question. Madhusudan ji, you want to ask your question? Madhusudan, are you there? All right. So, sir, I'll ask his question. So he says, Namaste, sir. I am a second year law student and I don't have any exposure to taxation laws till now and want to start studying this subject. Can you please enlighten me from where should I start?
So far as when I was a student in Campus Law Center, we had tax as an option. I had taken up that option as tax. And before that, I was a BCom honor student and I had taken commerce in my 11th. I've been dealing with commercial laws for a very long time. I was kind of very much at ease when I decided, or it so happened, that I started doing tax laws. I started doing tax laws with Mr. Ghulam Mahanbati, solicitor for 5 years and attorney general 5 years. So I tax laws with him for almost like 5 years when he was a solicitor general, and 5 years thereafter when he was attorney general. What he told me when he started matters with him, Arijit, work hard with sincerity, and by the time our tenure ends, guys all will be candidates for designation. That's what he told me. I work hard with sincerity, have our conferences early morning on 10 o'clock on Sunday. Office will start at 10 o'clock every day every week at 10 o'clock in the morning. Conferences will start with the tax matter and thereafter other matters. Similarly, we had our Princess, who was very, very good with tax, and he wanted us to have all our points at the time of briefing and after tips. So it was so a great experience working tax matters with him. 10 years on journey, and his training helped us immensely. His guidance helped us immensely. So where I am today is his training and his words I still remember very well for 20 years. I work hard with sincerity, and the time our tenure ends, you will be all candidates for it. God's grace.
So working hard with sincerity, I am hoping that a lot of people will get this motivation. That at the end of the day, there is no shortcut, is what I've been able to understand.
There is no shortcut so far as the legal profession is concerned. Working hard with sincerity is a mantra which everybody needs. They want to reach somewhere. Second is right time at the right place. God's hands. But having your hand is sincerity. Okay. So rest all depends on God. So on those factors you don't have any. You have control is sincerity and heart.
So I've come to understand that everyone becomes religious once they start legal practice.
Yes, legal practice is very uncertain, very easy to become a lawyer and very difficult to make a mark. And I would say that being a second generation lawyer or a first generation lawyer or a third generation lawyer, everybody has to work hard with sincerity. And if you're a second generation lawyer, only the door will open for you because of your parentage or your uncle or your father. Wherever you will get an audience. So far as a case is entrusted to you by or will depend upon your hard work, depend upon your sincerity to your matter. You have been interested with somebody by a matter. If somebody interested in a matter and say, I want this matter, note to be prepared by Wednesday because I have a matter on Thursday, the note has to be prepared on Wednesday. He says, I have to file a matter limitation ending on Friday. I want the matter by Thursday. Then the matter has to be, you have to get your matter ready by Thursday. So this is something which is very important because the case comes On that day, on that time, the judge sits at 10:30, your matter will get listed. Correct. So you have to show your diligence. You have to show that you are willing to work hard. Something which is very important as the
So
profession.
a few other questions I'm getting from this conversation, which I think I will want to hold back for a little later. We'll take these questions which people have sent first. Ratnesh Singh ji has a question. Ratnesh ji, do you want to ask your question?
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Ratnesh ji.
Sir, my question is regarding double taxation. I want to ask, if I pay tax in India as well as in abroad, can I claim any sort of relief regard with double taxation?
See, what happens is if you are paying a tax in another third jurisdiction, or if the tax is payable by you,
yes,
then you need not pay any tax in India. There's a judgment called Kulantikal Chatiyar in Malaysia on jurisdiction, and Indian jurisdiction was. Well, look at the judgment. Even if tax is payable by you and you are exempted because of XYZ reason from paying, you can always ask for not paying tax in India. Again, there is a difference between a deduction and an exemption. So, what is there till section 10 is an exemption, and thereafter, what you have in chapter 6A is an deduction. So, anything that you double taxation, the main reason for coming up with that DTAAs is so that you don't have to pay tax twice.
yes.
You pay tax in a third country, of taxes payable by in a third country, even if you are exempted for XYZ reason from paying tax in the third country, you not pay tax here.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
In fact, we did a case very recently on double taxation. It was something to do with tax in Dubai.
Yes.
So one of these fertilizer companies was operating in Dubai, Indian national fertilizer company, and because of some tax regulation, they were not liable to pay tax, or they were not liable to pay tax because of some regulation. Otherwise, tax was to be paid by. The question is whether they could get an exemption, and they got. In matter went all the way up. The Supreme Court said because of the fact they are exempted, so they are required. Tax is payable but exempted. You get the difference, no? Their tax is payable but exempted because of a regulation. Then you need not pay tax here in India.
Fantastic. So one thing which was in lines on this conversation itself, that today, so a lot of people in India also, people are staying in Gurgaon and all, they have this option of working for MNCs. Sometime they're placed in, let's say, someplace in Europe, and they derive a salary from over there, then they shifted to Southeast Asia, maybe Japan, Singapore, someplace, and then they're getting some income over there as well. So how do these people, should these people be concerned about tax?
The concept of resident, non-resident comes into play. If you're a resident in India, then you are liable for paying tax for your income which you have earned the whole of the country.
And so,
whatever income you have earned in the whole of the world, for a resident, you have to pay tax.
all right. And so, if there are certain amounts which have been already deducted over there previously, then you have to claim deductions.
You can get that adjusted.
That's fantastic. So I hope that this
And
will.
for a foreigner, you are liable to pay Indian tax only if the tax arises from India.
And it falls in the tax bracket, or
If the source of income is in India, if the source of income is in India,
and so
occupation comes secondary, but the source of income, if it's in India, like the Vodafone case, the source of source of income was India because the government claimed that the underlying assets are in India. So if your source of income is India, then you are liable to pay tax. So far as foreign nationals are concerned, non-nationals are concerned. So far as nationals are concerned who are resident, you have to pay tax for any income arising anywhere in the world, subject to adjustments.
fantastic, sir. Thank you. Thank you. That's very, I'm quite sure that this will be very helpful for everyone. So Raj Nandini, Datta has a question. Raj Nandini ji, you know ask?
Yes, sir. Yes. Very good evening, sir.
Very good
So I was
evening.
asking that in UK in 2017, this act has come up, Criminal Finances Act 2017,
Yes.
where that act is creating that creates the corporate offense where a firm tries to evade the tax, like evasion of the tax. So is
Yes.
there any requirement of such an act in India as well, or the Income Tax Act suffices such a
So,
situation?
Indian Income Tax Act is very comprehensive. In addition to that, we have the Benami Act, we have the Black Money Act, you have now the ED Act. So, the schedule offenses consideration, then you have a PMLA Act. So, I think these are all connected as far as interconnected, as far as this kind of are concerned. So, I think they're comprehensive enough to take care of our transactions are executed.
So, so right now, so as per the current status, whatever tax structure is there, I think GST has brought about a lot of change. But as far as personal tax is concerned, so that is absolutely so I'm just asking curiously because again, I understand lots of advocates don't even fall in the bracket of paying taxes. So let alone you've clarified that advocates also need CAs to pay taxes. So is it like howsoever is it like sufficient for the government to earn?
I would say everybody should pay tax. It helps in nation building. The youth today are very, I mean, enthusiastic about nation building, and paying tax also is part of nation building. They should also pay tax.
So fantastic, sir.
And
Fantastic.
tax planning is legitimate. As I mentioned, there's a very thin line between evasion and avoidance. As far as avoidance is concerned, legitimate. The act allows you to plan your tax and avoid within the laws. And I would say that, I mean, tax lawyer doesn't only mean being a tax lawyer who goes and argues matters in court. There are various tax lawyers who are employed in various positions, various law firms, and you have those accountancy firms who also have a lot of lawyers working, and you can have companies own tax teams for advising purposes. There are a lot of consultancy firms, tax consultants. So, I mean, tax is a very lucrative.
So what about internships? If someone wants to approach you for internship, what is the best manner they should do that?
They always get in touch with you or get in touch with me.
Okay,
Now
sir.
that you are the one who have invited me and you've invited should get in touch with me too. And so far as virtual internships are concerned, I have no difficulty. We do a lot of work, and we can always send files to read up the files, notes, research.
Great. So I'm sure that a lot of people will now want to reach out to me also. So so there is a
And Keshav, you will have to manage all the virtual interns.
so I am absolutely at your service. You know it. So there's a question from Mr. Praveen Agnihotri. Praveen sir, hi. Praveen sir,
Hi,
hi.
hi.
Sir, please ask your question.
Sir, my question is relating to job work process, which are normally manufacturer in the process they issue some material and job work. So, what is the tax relation of GST in relation to job work?
There are various conditions whereby have to see and show that you are doing a job work, whether the material belongs to you, you have only got the material from the principal manufacturer, what are the terms and conditions. Generally, any manufacturer has to pay tax on what has been manufactured at the time of removal from his factory or at the depot. Right? As far as a job worker is concerned, whether he comes to the premises or the factory of the manufacturer, he does it at his own place. There are various conditions which has to be seen. Jagar Prince is the judgment which will throw light. The principles are given therein. Jagar Prince 1, there are 3 judgments. Have a look at it and look at your facts. One can say only after facts how, whether, to what extent you tax.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, sir. Thanks.
Thank you, Praveen ji. So Yogesh Deshpande ji had a question. Yogesh ji, hi.
Yeah, good evening, sir.
Good
We,
evening.
Yogesh.
Yeah, I have a question regarding income tax. Generally,
Yes.
we do FDs, fixed deposit in banks by joint name, so as to have further complexities avoided. But how do taxation works? Because generally they relate the tax to the first person, but can we divide the interest amount into 2 people if the account is joint and get the tax exemption?
It also depends upon where did the money flow from. The money
It's a
flow from the
proper
first
legal
person
flow.
or the money flow from the second person. I mean, is the money came from X and it has been put in as an FD in X plus Y? It all depends. Generally, you can always say, you can always, demonstrate that the money was put in account by both the persons, money came from both the persons, and the
Okay.
concern should be taxed.
Because the FD was raised within the bank account only. Bank account
Correct.
is also joint account.
I mean, suppose you get the money from your salary, make an FD.
Yeah.
That is one.
Yeah.
Possible that both you and your wife get a gift of money from your parents, and both of them deposit it together.
Okay. No, we have a joint account, and from that joint account only the FD is created by joint name. So how?
Yes, then you can always again what the interest gets
split
back into the
same
FD,
account.
or you use it, take it out and use it.
We get the interest in the same account only from where the FD has been raised.
You can always when you file your returns, you can show 50%.
Okay, that's possible. That's allowable.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yogesh ji, like very humbly stating, आपने तो advice ही ले ली, but it's great. I hope that it works out. But please, for advice,
Keshav will send you an invoice.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
This is Keshav's event.
Sure.
So this is what all of this is free only, sir. So Yogesh ji, but irrespective, if there is something technical, I request you to kindly, just consult sir directly if it may help, if it is obviously required in that manner. पता चला कि क्या tax liability से ज़्यादा fees बैठ गई.
And this is all pro bono. Don't worry, Yogesh ji.
Yeah. Thank you.
All participants today pro bono.
वाह सर, ये तो थोड़ी देर लंबा चलाना पड़ेगा, इसको सर्कुलेट कर देते हैं एक बार.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, Yogesh ji, thank you. Hopefully, answered your question.
Yeah.
So, again, I request everyone to kindly just feel free to share your questions in the chat box. In the meanwhile, I'll keep taking mine. So, practicing at different levels in tax practice, as you guided us, that it's not just that a lawyer needs to, or a tax lawyer is a lawyer who comes before the court and argues for tax matters. He can appear before various authorities also. So, in that respect, what are the kind of scopes that, or what is the scope which can be explored by young professionals with respect to initiation or getting into tax practice?
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on how you want to position. Whether you want to do direct tax, whether you want direct tax. As far as the big four accounting firms are concerned, they are very lucrative so far as the salaries are concerned. So, but again, they have their own specific department. Direct tax is entirely different. National taxation is different. Then you have transfer pricing. Again, there is another department. So far as indirect tax is concerned, some people do GST now. Some people do GST, the central part of it, legislation part of it. Some people do state legislation part of it. So it all depends on what you want. I mean, you have to always begin when you start law, at the inception, you have to start and you keep on ahead. You keep in the line first, and thereafter you step by step.
And so how does it translate? Like how much time does a person or a person should consider before they should come to the Supreme Court, believing that they want to practice tax law over here?
So far as tax laws or so far as any law is concerned, when we were young, the traditional way was to work in lower courts for a while. Thereafter, you work in the High Court and then come to Supreme Court, because the interpretation of law in Supreme Court is very, very fine. And was the traditional view, but now are the days of instant straight away come to Supreme Court. But again, straight away come to Supreme Court, you work hard. That's what I would say. Because it takes a while for a person to understand the nuances.
So one word which I think comes at least what I've been able to understand in the Supreme Court, which is discussed a lot with respect to tax matters, that is classification or
Yes.
classification matter. So what exactly is a classification matter?
So you have a tariff whereby any product is either manufactured or imported, tax the rate. So classification basically means under which heading will the goods that are being manufactured or imported falls. For the purpose of it. That's what classification. Classification for the purpose of tax.
Classification for the purpose of tax.
Classification is there even for customs and so far size manufacturer.
So if I am a business entity running, let's say the Vodafone case that we discussed.
Yes.
Then sir, whose responsibility is it to
See, so far as income tax is concerned, there's no classification concerned so far as income tax is concerned. So far as Vodafone is concerned, Vodafone was a direct tax matter, therefore no classification. But so far as your Ujagar Prince is concerned, mentioned about it, was whether it's a manufacturer or a job worker, how they are in liability work. So far as suppose you import a product, no matter what paper pulp was being. So now paper pulp, there is a return being filed by the importer. He would say my product is X. Then again, the tariff entry would have how was this paper pulp produced or manufactured? What was the content of the various products? Accordingly, classification. There was another matter we were doing whether this they had imported crude oil. So now the issue was whether this is a crude oil. What kind of a crude oil is there? What is the flash point? What is the chemical composition? To determine what kind of a crude oil is being imported. Therefore, has to see the content and accordingly pay the tax.
So the lawyer has to understand all of these classifications, or is it the CA who understands and then
Whatever product is being imported, it is sent to the chemical analyzer. They would kind of determine what is the chemical composition. And according to the chemical composition, it fall under various classifications, head as they are. And there are various rules, the various interpreted which are there in the tariff for every chapter. And there are various principles of law. It's a combination of all these things together which will be very apparent.
So let's say it's a product like a laptop, which has a lot of physical things that can be added to it and subtracted from it. So
We were doing a matter against HP. They had a particular computer which was portable, and it had a battery, and it could be moved from room to room. The issue that came into being was whether that particular product. It's a laptop because it's portable, or it's not portable. What extent is the portable? The judgment of the Supreme Court determining that even though it was 5 kgs in weight and it was more of a screen, still they held it to be portable and came and taxable the same rate as the
Fantastic. So
you can have a look at that HP judgment.
So I will absolutely, sir.
Justice Suryakant was the one his lordship had given the judgment.
So I had the good fortune of looking at tax matters with Rajesh, sir. With
Okay.
Rajesh Kumar, sir, and it's been just my delight. How do I say? Like, I do not personally, obviously, now I've come to see tax matters in their, how do I say, in their, actually at the
Rajesh sir is a veteran, so I mean we were young lawyers when we saw him at us.
So I've asked him to come so many times for the class, but again, sir, I will raise this grievance with him.
Yes.
So again, sir, very interesting things with respect to tax. But what I understand, sir, what I think maybe it's just my interpretation of the subject matter so far, that it's extremely, how do I say, it's extremely interesting, but very nuanced. So a lot of people like artists and all who want to get into law and litigation, I think they will probably find it very.
Tax laws is like solving a problem. So it's like solving a problem. If you like solving problems, solving puzzles, it involves not only tax laws, knowledge of various other laws, corporate law, partnership, Hindu, it's a combination of everything. So it's very interesting. I mean, if you have been, I mean, it takes a while for you to get an interest, and once you get interested, it becomes very interesting. And in the long run, it's also lucrative. Young lawyers who work in accountancy firms, the law firms, very well for them because there are not too many.
So, but I can only understand how privileged and responsible it would feel, when let's say I'm dealing with a case that has 10,000 rupees, 10,000 crore rupees at stake.
Yeah.
So I think that, ups, that tops everything. So that tops everything.
I mean, that used to be very, very, difficult because when the tax effect is huge, then the dedication required is also huge. So it's very overwhelming.
So fees should also be huge.
No, it doesn't happen, that way. I mean, we charge the same amount of as we charge for any case, whether the tax effect is 100 rupees, 10,000 rupees, or a few rupees.
So that's very kind of you, actually. I think that way lots and lots of people will have access. Because again, so the idea of behind these classes also is just to ensure that everyone gets access to the quality people of the world, people who've devoted their lives in doing such hard work. So because it actually takes, what I understand, so जैसे तपस्या होती है, this is a तपस्या जो आपने की है कि
I've worked only in the field of tax for 20 years, 2004 to now, 23 years. So it's interesting. I like doing tax, and initially it took me more time to prepare a file. Now it takes less time because I know the principles, I know the judgments. So it's once you like being a subject, once you like something, what you like becomes easy, becomes interesting.
So it's remarkable. So 20 years is remarkable. So again, sir, we're nearly at the end of the session right now, though a lot much more needs to be discussed, I think. And honestly, sir, I personally feel that it'll be great if we can have further sessions on direct tax, indirect tax, customs. I see customs as a huge
No, these are areas where people practice only in these areas. A lot of people, I was fortunate that I got to practice in both direct and indirect tax. So Indirect tax, I worked in customs, excise, central excise, and GST. Income tax, I've been fortunate. I was in the private side. When you work in firms, you have a department transfer pricing. You have a department only corporate tax. You have a department in excise. You have a department in customs. So there's a department GST. So again, GST, you are having a specialized area where you are doing only turnkey. So it's a very specialized area so far as law is concerned. And if you are able to have some kind of a idea, then all the areas, then your advices or your opinion is more holistic.
So international law, whatever rules and regulations are applicable, then sir GST and at the same time customs. I think customs more or less falls under the international bracket only. But these are three topics so that are actually like what I understand are very relevant today because not a lot of people have good understanding of these. But so for that, I'll obviously want to have your company and the privilege of being able to learn from you.
Whenever you are free and whenever I am free, you can always discuss tax over a cup of coffee.
So that's the biggest privilege I think of this humble institution that we get this good fortune. So just I think
we have also learned from our seniors and they've been very kind to us at every stage. So what we learn, we have to impart the new generation to build up this institution in the country. That's what I believe.
That's very kind.
And then there's a saying in Sanskrit: the more you share your knowledge, the more it increases.
So we're just hopeful that at least in that manner we can contribute back.
So Keshav, if you remember the shlok, you can tell us.
So I humbly seek a short adjournment for that.
Okay.
So on the next date of hearing, I'll absolutely come back to you.
Next time we meet in Supreme Court, I want that shlok.
So it's done, sir. It's done. Right now, I'll send it to you on WhatsApp right after this. So before parting, I think just one or two questions have also come. Mr. Pranya Sahu has a question. Pranya ji, you want to ask?
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Pranya ji.
Good evening, sir. I have a question, sir. Suppose a assessee is dead, so it is the liability of the legal representative under Section 159 of the Income Tax Act to pay the liability. But if the legal representative is no way benefited from the estate or from the income or from the proceeds of the income, is there any way that those legal representative can get away with the tax liability of the deceased assessee?
It depends upon fact to fact. It all depends on facts to fact. Legal representative is not benefited at all from the income of the deceased.
Sir, for example, in a case where the assessee has no property at all, the income is from her salary, and she was enjoying that income till she died. None of them were given to any of the legal representative. In those cases where there is no estate, where
you have to demonstrate the fact, the satisfaction of the assessing officer.
Right, sir.
You have to demonstrate that. Actually, you have to demonstrate that you were not benefited in any manner from the money, which salary income, which the assessee had. You had no part of it. So therefore, you should not be taxed. And the very fact that she did not have any estate from where tax could be paid.
Right, sir.
Not benefited X and also that she did not have any estate from where it could have been.
Right, sir. Both of it.
So, but again, if you had an estate and you are enjoying that estate, property devolves on you.
Right, sir. Right, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thanks for that.
So, sir, thank you so much, sir. Pranay ji, I hope you got your answer. On parting note, sir, so what exactly are your views or what exactly is the conversation around the direct tax code?
See, I mean, direct tax code was supposed to be brought in to make tax pretty easier, because if you look at the Income Tax Act, it does. By the time when you start reading it and by the time the section ends, you forget what it was all about. Direct tax code was supposed to be not only to make life easier for SSCs as well as the tax administration. So let's see as to what is the legislature's point of view that they want to do. They
So,
want to
so will it mean
create.
more hard work for advocates?
I would say more work for advocates.
So I think so that
Whenever a new law comes in, whenever new legislation comes in, it's good for lawyers. There's more work for lawyers. But again, you want to be a tax lawyer, the new act comes into being, you can read the new tax law, new code.
So is there anything called an exclusive tax lawyer, only tax lawyer? Like, so you've given 20 years to tax practice. Would you call yourself a tax lawyer?
I would call myself tax lawyer because I have been doing tax predominant the last 20 years. So I've been doing direct, indirect tax. So 95% of my time I've been doing tax. So I can call myself a tax.
Fantastic. So that's really great to hear because most of the time I have conversation with lots and lots of seniors also. Like I think the conversation it starts with when I ask them for topics, the conversation it starts with anything except tax. That's how it works. Anything except tax.
It so happens that I started doing matters for the government when I started working with Savannah 2004. And I did tax matters with him for almost like 10 years during his thereafter. And thereafter also when of the position of Attorney General tax laws. And thereafter I assisted various law President Solicitor and various other AS. So it's been a privilege and an honor to have worked with a lot of chances to advertise myself. So the more you practice, or the more proficient you become. So hopefully I become more proficient as the day passes. I consider myself as a student. I consider myself as still learning. So let's hope for the best.
So how do I say, just a blessing for us also that you've had this occasion and such wonderful opportunities because now we get to learn from that. So
Thank you very much, Keshav. You've been very persuasive. And when the courts are open, it's of time goes in reading files and preparing the matters. So good to have this session during the vacation where I could also get some time away from the busy files and interacting with you and Rajnandani and Praveen. It's always a good occasion to participate in webinars like this.
So it's our blessing, and I just hope and pray to God that you get so much, time also for teaching us more and for interacting with us also. So it's very enlightening and very.
It's always a pleasure interacting with young people. Young.
So I extend deepest gratitude to you on behalf of all of us, all the participants who are here with us right now, and who will be referring to the class on YouTube in the future. So it's our deepest thank you to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me. It's a privilege and an honor always to spread knowledge.
So
I believe you share your knowledge, your knowledge increases.
And so I have work.
And you need to tell me the shlok. That's your homework.
Thank you so much, sir. Just so kind of you, sir. And once again, sir, look, I just can't, wait enough to see you again in court. And
we'll have a cup of coffee on the
So kind of you, sir. So kind of you. And so I take your permission now to end the session today.
Surely, thanks very much. It was very, very interesting interacting with you all, and I hope you guys as well.
So kind of you, sir. So kind of you. We final prayer. So
Thank
only
you.
prayer is only one that we look forward and we hope to have you with us soon and again and on repetition.
Surely, surely, and we'll always discuss tax when we meet you whenever
Absolutely, sir.
Keshav is free.
As
That
I am
goes for Nandini, Pranay, Deepak, and Praveen as well.
great, sir. Great. I think so. Now we should start like some internships also, like for
That
Vestralex
you'll have to take care of.
program.
That you'll have to take care of.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely. So just so kind of you, sir. Thank you so much. I
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very
everyone
much.
participated, everyone who will be getting to see this in the future. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat, and
Or Atmanirbhar Bharat. Thank you.
Bharat. So kind of you, sir.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you. Thank you for inviting.
Happy New Year, sir. Happy New Year, sir.
Happy New
All of
Year.
you. Happy New Year to all of you as well.
Happy New Year, guys.